You're listening to So You Want to Start a Business podcast, and I am your host, Ingrid Thompson. I'm the author of the business book with the same name as this podcast, So You Want to Start a Business, available wherever you buy your books. Today's a solo episode, and I'm sharing with you my recent debilitating bout of procrastination and how I have overcome it. For all my regular listeners, thanks for being here, for spending your precious time with me, and I truly believe that there is something for everyone in this episode. If you're listening to this podcast for the first time, welcome and thank you for finding us. There are some pretty terrific interviews back there in the earlier episodes, and in fact, there's the recordings of some of the chapters of my books as well. If you don't know who I am, my business is healthynumbers.com.au, and my mission is to help business owners understand how money works in their business, because I absolutely believe that everyone deserves to be financially savvy when it comes to understanding how money works in business and in life. I wrote the book So You Want to Start a Business to help you understand business fundamentals and especially the financial side of business. This book is the only advertising on the podcast, and pretty much every day someone somewhere in the world buys a copy. Thank you if that is you, if you've bought a copy for yourself or a friend or a colleague. To find So You Want to Start a Business book, head to your independent local bookseller. We love the independents, or wherever you buy your books online. Okay, so let's talk about this debilitating bout of procrastination and what I have done to overcome it. And it's just not about having more willpower. Are we ready? So I'm recording this as a podcast, but it's also one of the episodes of my Money Matters newsletter. So if you're listening to it as a normal reader of the newsletter, here we are. So it's been a while between Money Matters newsletters and between podcasts and blog posts and social media posts. I have been procrastinating, and finally I do believe I have overcome it. And thank you for those who've noticed over the last couple of months and have emailed me to ask if I'm okay. I truly appreciate it, and I'd like you to know that it has been a very strange few months for me, and I think some of that contact from you has reminded me of just how important the work we're doing here is. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. What is procrastination? Well, we tend to think of procrastination as not doing something, or putting things off, or leaving it until later. And I've discovered that procrastination is more than just putting things off. There are loads of things that we actually put off for good reasons. Like we put off putting ourselves in any kind of danger for good reasons. Procrastination is a habit, and it is a habit that has developed over time. So the thing is, it's the habit of not doing things that we know would be good for us. So when you think about that, we don't start a diet, we leave that till Monday, or we don't join the gym, we leave that until the beginning of next month. So we put off things. It's the not doing things that we know would be good for us. And when we put it in the business context, it's the habit of not doing things that we know would be good for us in our business. And this is where procrastination hit me very, very hard. Not doing all the things that I knew would be good for me and my business and good for my business, like writing and sending my newsletters, like updating my website, putting out my blogs, recording and publishing new podcast episodes, all the social media that goes with being in business, and much more. And I knew I ought to be doing these things. And yet, what was stopping me? And, the experts tell us that we just need more willpower. We just need the right mindset and we'll overcome it. And honestly, if all it took was willpower and mindset, pretty much none of us would ever procrastinate. And certainly any of us in business would never procrastinate, because to be where we are running businesses, we already have truckloads of willpower and we've got our can-do mindset. So overcoming procrastination takes much more than willpower. So I was digging a bit deeper. And why do we not do things that we know are good for us? How did we actually develop this habit? The habit of procrastinating develops as a response to fear. Now, there is a light bulb moment, if ever there was one. The habit of procrastinating develops as a response to fear. So, regarding this procrastinating, and the thing is, I actually wasn't even calling it that. I had said to some folk who were close to me, a couple of my friends, I had said to them, after this had been going on for a little while, I said, I feel like I've lost my voice. And that's why I wasn't doing any writing or recording. And I felt like my voice had been stifled and that I didn't have anything to say. And that I had said to a few people, I felt like I had been shushed. Nobody shushed me. I just felt like I had been shushed and that I'd lost my voice. And as I said this to a friend of mine last week, she responded by saying to me, we procrastinate as a response to fear. We develop the habit of procrastinating to protect ourselves. And that right there is where the light bulb was. I was procrastinating, and I needed to ask myself, what am I protecting myself from? So some of the motivational people would tell us that fear is false evidence appearing real, fear. And this is simply not true. So I trust you're still with me here, that you're kind of following along, that we've got to this point where, it's fear is causing us to procrastinate because we are protecting ourselves from that we are frightened of. And fear comes from the expectation of pain, which of course is a really true emotional human emotion. Fear is something that can hurt us, either physically or emotionally, because that pain can hurt us. The fear of something, the fear of the expectation of pain, either physically or emotional. So what have I been protecting myself from? And I'm not 100% sure, although I believe it's tied up with the fear of being rejected. And this is where fear can become really and truly irrational. For more than 20 years, I've shared my expertise and wisdom with people around the world through my book, my podcast, my blog, my newsletter, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and now Instagram, and in person. And I have worked one-on-one with people, I've worked with groups, and for some reason I had started to doubt that what I had to say mattered. And I'm not sure whether any of you can relate to this. Is this something that has maybe happened to you, that even though we know we're really good at what we do, that we feel passionately about making a difference in the world and helping people, we put ourselves out there every day, day after day, and then something happens and a seed of doubt creeps in. And, that can start to just be the thin edge of the wedge, and that we start to feel that we need to protect ourselves from something that's been painful. And maybe it's in the way somebody has responded to us. Maybe it's in the way something has gone the way it has in our business, and we start to want to protect ourselves from that happening again. So the good news is, when we know this, we can overcome it by asking ourselves these questions. And, you might want to grab some paper, or you might just want to listen to this and then rewind and listen to it again. But the questions that I asked myself, and that I'm going to encourage you, if you have any inkling that this might be affecting you as well, is what am I not doing that would be good for my business? And I'm pretty sure, even though I feel like I've overcome this, there's probably lots of other things that I could be doing, but what am I not doing that would be good for my business? The second question then is, what is the pain that I think I will feel when I do this? Now, we know that we avoid pain and we move towards pleasure. And so what is the pain? That maybe that pain is the pain of rejection. And, nobody wants to be rejected, and that will hurt. And so we don't do it. So what am I doing that would be good for my business? What is the pain that I think I might feel when I do this? Am I willing to accept that pain in some instances? And, that is a big question. Are we willing to accept that pain? The rejection, they say no, and we say to ourselves, so what? We have a good service and a good product, and the people who get their service and products, they are the ones that we're really working towards. And so then we say, what is the evidence that this pain is unlikely to happen in every single instance? And that these 4 questions all fit together. So let's go through my responses to these when I really sat down and thought about these last week. What am I not doing that would be good for my business? I'm not communicating with anyone through any of the various channels that I used to use. I had snuck out a newsletter. I had posted a couple of things in social, and I was dabbling a little bit in LinkedIn, but I truly was not communicating through any of the various channels. What is the pain that I think I would feel? Fear of being ignored or rejected. And, there's nothing like being ignored. And the truth is, am I willing to accept that pain in some instances? And yes, I am willing to accept that people will not respond to my every single communication. And there are a ton of reasons why they might not. They may not see it. They don't have time to respond. They don't need the information right now. They may ignore it because they don't agree with it or reject it for any other variety of reasons. And that just is how it is in business. And so I say to myself, and you might be listening to this now, and you might say, yeah, Ingrid, I'm going to communicate with you and tell you how good this is. And your intention is great, but right now you're out walking the dog, or you're driving in the car and you can't pick up the phone and make a comment, or you can't email me back from this newsletter, or whatever reason. And your intention might be there, and it just doesn't happen. So I feel like it's been ignored. And truly, the evidence of what I have to say is relevant and appreciated. My last question is, what is the evidence that this pain is unlikely to happen in every instance? And it's true. And I know this will be true for you. I absolutely, honestly, if you ask those first 3 questions and you get to question 4, I will guarantee there is evidence that this is unlikely to happen in every instance. And in my case, every day, someone somewhere in the world buys a copy of my book to help them get started in business, to help them understand their business better. Across 76 countries, people download podcast episodes to listen to, just like you're doing right now. People read and interact with my blog posts. My website visits are constantly growing. I look at the reports, and even though I've done nothing in the last month or 2, I still have new clients seeking my assistance. I still have people going to the website because the work is done, and there's so much more evidence that I could find. So I went through that, I wrote it down, I looked at my data, and there is solid evidence that what I'm saying is relevant and matters. And honestly, when you look at your data, there is solid evidence that what you are doing is important. And sometimes we just need to work through this process to get ourselves back on track. So that's about it for me. If you're procrastinating, or you feel like you don't have a voice, or there's things on your list that you're not doing and you're doing busy work instead of the important work, I know that you are going to find this process of these 4 questions truly helpful. And you know what? If you want some help with this, you can contact me, Ingrid, at healthynumbers.com.au, and just put I need help in the subject line, or I want to stop procrastinating, or I've lost my voice, or whatever you want to put in that subject line, and let me know that you've listened to this podcast, that you've read the newsletter, that you've seen the blog, and that for some reason you need some help to work through these. If you don't, I'm going to suggest you rewind the 4 questions and just listen to my explanation of them. But the 4 questions that we want to ask is, what am I not doing that would be good for my business? What is the pain that I think I will feel? So what am I moving away from? What am I avoiding? That we're procrastinating because we're avoiding something happening. Am I willing to accept that pain? You know what? Yes, you are. Because do you know what's easy? Do you know what is really easy? It's really easy to do nothing. And what does doing nothing cost us? It costs us money, it costs us time, and it costs us opportunity. So, when we think about it like that, that is the cost. It truly is the cost. So am I willing to accept that pain in some instances? Yes, I am. And what is the evidence that this pain is unlikely to happen in every instance? And start to look for that evidence. And that's where data and numbers and data and information is so vital and so important. I'm here to help you, Ingrid Thompson, healthynumbers.com.au. You can email me, Ingrid at healthynumbers.com.au, and I shall definitely be able to help you. Okay, and I encourage you to share this episode with anybody that you might know who would need to listen to this. Thanks, and bye for now.